Greetings and welcome to another edition of Practical Assertion. This week, I'd like to challenge each of you and your thinking as it relates to relationships with the backdrop of, you guessed it, tennis. The game of tennis is interesting, especially with its scoring system. The game of tennis is unique in that rather than have normal scoring using a point system, as is the case in most every sport that I know, tennis uses a corresponding call that is different from its point value. 0 is love, 1 is 15, 2 is 30, 3 is 40, and 4 is game. In tennis, scoring in tie situations in which both players have won the same number of points also varies. When players are tied by 1 or 2 points, the score is described as 15 all and 30 all. However, if each player has won 3 points, the score is described as deuce rather than 40 all. From this point on, whenever the score is tied, it is described as deuce regardless of how many points have been played. In standard play, scoring beyond a deuce score, in which both players have scored 3 points each, requires that one player must get 2 points ahead in order to win the game. This type of tennis scoring is known as advantage scoring. In this type of scoring, the player who wins the next point after deuce is said to have the advantage. If the player with advantage loses the next point, the score is again deuce since the score is tied. If the player with the advantage wins the next point, that player has won the game since that player now leads by 2 points. Well, as I thought about it, the thought comes to mind that life and relationships are similar to a tennis match many times. The similarities are phenomenal. There is always a server, one who is being served, the court, the boundary lines, the rules, the scorekeeper, and in most cases, the crowd or spectators. While time won't permit us to get into all of the rules, some are noteworthy as we make our case. One in particular is the rule that the server cannot cross the line when serving. Additionally, when the server serves the ball, that ball must land in the opposite court, but within the opposite quadrant and within the inbounds. The one being served has the responsibility to return the serve without allowing the ball to hit more than once on that side of the court. If when the server serves, the ball hits the net, falls outside of the designated quadrant, or is outside of the boundaries, it is considered a fault. Enough of the rules. Let's see if I can make application that will help you to have a more healthy relationship. First and foremost, no relationship should commence without rules in place. Both parties must understand the rules and commit to following or adhering to the rules. These rules must be discussed as well as consequences for violation of them. I can't tell you how many individuals come to counseling who are struggling in their relationships where clear violation of what should have been understood have occurred over and over again. In a real tennis match, those individuals would have been disqualified and, as a result, lost the match. Did you hear what I just said? Lost the match. In other words, are no longer allowed to play. Are you getting this? Why are some of these matches still going on? I'm confused. These disqualified players are crossing the lines on their serves. Their serves are hitting the net, are way out of bounds, and yet somehow they continue to score. Shaking my head. I don't know, but as I see it, if one is disqualified, that means they are no longer qualified to play. The one being served should understand that rules are in place to make the game fair, otherwise anything goes. When anything goes, anything, and I mean anything goes. This is why so many find themselves putting up with anything. As in tennis, we will go back and forth because that's what life is made up of. Jesus even said in Luke 17:1, in the latter clause, it is impossible, but that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come. In other words, the volleying back and forth will happen. What is intriguing is that the scorekeeping is what is stressing many out. If in your relationship, as you check the score, you are down 40 to love, you can't help but be concerned about losing the game. As such, you may be stressed. What I find interesting about this idea of scorekeeping is that for the Christian, once forgiveness is requested and given, the number of faults go back to 0. In his discourse about love in 1 Corinthians 13:5, some versions translate what the Apostle Paul writes in the latter clause as love keeps no records of wrong. Does this mean that the server is free to keep violating the rules? Of course not. We just covered that. You see, if the server wants to continue to play with you, play in a good sense, he or she will not seek to do you harm because they love you. What's the score in your relationship? Are you up? Are you down? Are you and your mate at deuces? Or do you have the advantage? Do you remember that the ball is only allowed to hit the opposite side once? The analogy here is that we should make every effort to clear up any offense or fault in one discussion. One bounce only. Try it and see if your relationship isn't more healthy and fulfilling. Finally, as I close, be wary or cautious of spectators. Not everyone in the stands is pulling for you. Let me know what you think. Was I successful in challenging your thoughts and mine? The ball is in your court. I look forward to hearing from you. Please share this video with everyone you know, comment on Facebook, our blog page, on Twitter, and we'll see you next week for another edition of Practical Assertion. Take care.